Hi and welcome to another Canny Drifters video. Today, really excited to go through the first trading strategy that I'm looking at. I think I mentioned in the introduction to Betfair Trading that I was going to start looking at some strategies in more detail, and this, from research I've done, this is the first one I've come up with, so I'm going to run through the principles of it and how it works, and then I'm going to show you some examples of what I've done at the weekend. It's Tuesday the 8th of March today, and I ran this on the previous weekend. I didn't do yesterday's football last night, which I looked at this morning. There was a couple of opportunities that I missed, but I'm trying again tonight. So I'll go through the strategy first, and then we'll go through some examples. So the strategy I'm looking at to start with is called Lay the Draw. So give it a name and give it a code. I'm going to do one of these sheets for each strategy that I look at, and this is the first one I've started investigating in further detail. So the description: lay the draw and so basically you lay the draw and you cash out, and the draw price is higher, which happens when a goal is scored. So if a game's nils each, obviously every game starts nils each at the start. We're talking football again. I don't have that on here, which is a major omission, but I will put the sport and the market on. But for example, before a game starts, you'll have, say, we'll just say for argument's sake, Liverpool versus Man United. It's 0-0 at the start. There'll be a price that you can lay the draw at, and when you lay against the draw, what you're saying there is I don't think the match will end in a draw. It'll be either Liverpool win or Man United win. So basically, once a team scores in that game, then the draw price will increase. So then you can cash out. You can cash out of your lay bet and win some profit, or make some profit. We'll try not to use win-lose, but we'll try not to call them bets, because they're trades. It's like trading on the stock market. You're buying in at a lower price than what you're cashing out, what you're selling at. So you buy low, sell high, basically. Same principle in this. So you'd buy your draw low before the game starts, or whenever you decide to enter. That's the other thing. You can enter and exit whenever you want. You can do multiple trades during a game if you want. So if one team went 1-0 up, you could cash out, and then you could say lay the draw again or whatever. But we're not going into all that detail. All we're doing is laying the draw and then exiting out as at a determined time, what we decide on the strategy. So the first thing these are more rules on what I've come up with as part of this. Now, laying the draw against a match that I just mentioned there, like Liverpool Man United, might be a bad idea. Although maybe not at the minute. I'm not going to get into teams and their current form and everything. It might. If you basically what I'm saying, if you did have two equal teams, and that might not be the case at the minute, but if you had two equal teams, then it wouldn't really be advisable to lay the draw, because there's a good chance that it could be a draw if you've got two evenly matched teams. So the first rule I've kind of come up with is we're looking to find games with an odds-on favourite. So where the favourite's like less than even, so like 1/1, or in decimal terms that's less than 2.0. And if you've got a favourite like that between 1.2, 1.3 up to 2.0, the draw price is normally around the 4 mark. Because then what happens then, if a favourite scores, the draw price will move out, so it'll go higher, and then we can actually cash out at some point. And then even if the underdog scores, you can break even or make a small loss position, because the reason if the underdog scores is it's still quite likely that it could be a draw if the favourite comes back into the game and gets an equaliser and doesn't score a second to win the game. It's still the odds won't go up as much for if the underdog scores, but I'll get into that in more detail as I show you some examples. That's the kind of principle we're looking at there. to actually make a winning trade. So the first thing I'm looking at is qualifying criteria, and this is a criteria I'm going for. I've already mentioned like one of them there, but the first thing to look at is to make sure it's not a knockout game or a dead rubber. And so by that I mean like a knockout game would be a cup game. The reason for that being is some teams just park the bus and aim for the draw and want to go in extra time and try and win on penalties. There's no incentive or emphasis on kind of winning the game and going forward and attack and scoring goals. And a dead rubber's like say it's getting later on in the season, there's two mid-table teams have got nothing to play for, and they're not going to be involved in promotion, they're not going to be involved in relegation, so they're more likely to play out a draw because they're not that bothered, for want of a better phrase. Odds on favour I've already mentioned, so it's good where a game has a clear favourite, because it's more likely not to be a draw, and that's the sole reason. Even better if the favourite's at home, because if they're on home turf and the odds on favourite, you would expect them to win. I mean, obviously nothing's set in stone with football. Everybody knows how sort of volatile football is. You know, it's a game of two halves. It's a funny old game, to coin a couple of phrases there. Funny old game. One team can beat a rubbish team one week, and then that rubbish team can go along and beat like the team who's top of the league the next week. Funny old game. But more often than not, the games will go to form, especially where you've got odds on favourite. Like if Liverpool were playing at home and Norwich at the minute, and again I'm just picking two teams there, you would expect Liverpool to win, say 8 or 9 times out of 10. Norwich would need some luck to either come away from, say, Anfield with a draw or something like that. You're probably thinking it does obviously help with this trade, and if you know a little bit about the teams, but probably just looking at the league table would give you this information. But what I'm going to do is go on to Betfair in a moment and show you, even if you don't know about the teams, then how to actually do this. And then the next category I've just picked is that you look at the favourite and make sure they've scored. Well, you look at the favourites last 5 games and make sure there's been a goal, at least one goal in those last 5 games, because ideally you're not really bothered if they've ended in draws so much, but as long as there's been a goal, basically no 0-0 draws. 0-0 draws on this strategy is the evil, it's the devil. It's the worst case scenario, because you're going to have to cash out at some point for a loss. If that's the end of the game and you let it ride until the very last minute in injury time, then you're going to make a loss of your liability. So if you put, say, £10 on against the draw before the start of the game, and the draw was 4.0, your liability is £40, and you're going to lose that whole £40, even though you've only laid £10. You're going to lose £40 if that game ends 0-0. So that is the worst case scenario, and that's where I think in the previous video I can't emphasize enough that your money's at risk on all bet trading strategies. You can cash out earlier at half time if there's been no shots and no chances, and we're going to get on to entry and exit strategies at some point soon. And that's what I need to tweak as well, entry and exit strategies, because based on the results I've done at the weekend, I'm going to go through like what would have happened if I'd done different entry and exit strategies. I mean, one simple exit strategy on this one simple exit point on this strategy is just to cash out as soon as there's been a goal, because typically you're going to make money. Only you might break as a small loss if the underdog scores first. Depends. If the underdog score first with like 10 minutes to go, the lay odds on the draw will go up, whereas if the underdogs score in the game early doors, like in the first 10 minutes or something, you're probably still looking at a loss if you try and cash out, because there's so much time left in the game for the favourites to come back into it and win, turn around. But that's things we'll look at later on when I explain each game. So I'm looking to make sure there's been no nil-nil draws basically, and we really want all 5 games, although this one's a bit contentious at the minute. I'm going to start looking at more deal as we go and as we trade. So the entry point, a lot of people think the best time to enter this is before the game kicks off. The first strategy I've started with, though, and maybe a little bit contentious, but I'll explain why, is I'm entering in the second half, or basically half time at the minute, as long as it's still a draw. Typically you're looking for 0-0, so there's been no goal and you've still got a clear favourite, so you still expect the favourite to score or win the game. And maybe the underdogs playing away from home or even at home, and if, like I say, parked the bus and put 11 men behind the ball and still managing to draw nils each. But at that point then I'd look at things like, has there been any chances or any shots on target and shots off target. You just use like apps or online stats for that. Because the reason for doing that is the later it gets in the game, the lower the odds on laying the draw, and you can consider that as a discount. So for example, when I'm saying here before the game, you'll typically get odds of 4.0. By half time, that's getting lower and lower because you've used half the game up. 45 minutes have gone, there's been no goal or it's still a draw, and there's only 45 minutes left for one team to win it. So typically the odds are a lot lower than 4. So where you're putting your £10 on at 4 and you potentially run a liability risk of losing £40, you're going to get a lot closer to, say, well, you could certainly going to, from my experience, you're going to get under 3, so it's going to be like 2.6, 2.7, 2.8 for the draw. So if you're putting £10 on, then you're only looking at losing £27, £28 maximum if it stays at nils each. A lot of people sort of raise eyebrows, I think, will say, well, there's only half a game left, it's still a draw, it's a high risk that there's going to be a goal, but we're banking on being an odds-on favourite here, and so like as long as you're looking at the stats and making sure that the favourites had a lot of the possession, they've had all the shots on target and stuff, they've had all the chances, get your money on the trades, and you know, because they're expecting to get a goal. And as soon as they do get a goal, the odds will go. The draw odds will go right up, way over 4. They'll probably go up to about 6 or 7. It depends again on whether they get in the 46th minute of the second half or whether it's close at the 80th or 90th. Again, we'll go into that when I go into the games. And then there's different parts. Well, there's different exit points for the strategy as well. You could cash out when a goal is scored by the favourite, and that'll give you your biggest profit, especially if you've left it until half time. We'll just talk about now. I'm only putting these lay bets on at half time because that's what I've done to start with, although I will go over whether I'm going to change that or not. When a goal is scored by the underdogs, you could get a lower profit or maybe no profit. It depends on the underdog scored. But if the underdogs score in the second half, typically from the 45th minute onwards, you should see a little profit. There's probably a lot less chance of a small loss position. The small loss position is more if you put the lay bet on before the game kicks off. And then if no goal scored and you've let it ride, then you're going to lose. You don't lose your stake, you actually lose your liability. So that's a typo there. Or you can cash out at a predefined time for a lower loss. So some people might say, right, if there's no goal by 60 minutes, I'll cash out, which will be a lower loss than if you leave until like 70 or 80 minutes. You could use 75 minutes. A lot of people that I've been looking at would let it ride, because the later it gets in a game, the more tired the teams get and the more open games become, so the more chance there is of a goal going in. If you let it ride, you're at risk of losing your whole liability. But you can offset that. If there isn't a goal, you can offset that against the games where you have made a profit from. And that's probably the biggest issue I have at the moment with my head space for this strategy is a 0-0. It's going to be not crippling, but it's really bad news, because, like I say, depending on where you got on it, you're gonna say, if you got on, say, if you got on the draw at, say, even 2.5, you're gonna lose 25 quid if you've put a tenner on, and the maximum you're gonna get out if you've laid 10 quid is your 10 quid. So you risk losing 25, but your gain is plus 10 if there is a goal. So if you lose the 25, you're probably looking at like 3. If you're putting £10 stakes on, or £10 trades, sorry. If you're putting £10 trades on, then you've got to win 3 games to cover that. You've got to win 3 trades to cover that 1 loss. So you're looking at kind of 3 out of 4 wins in that respect. But I will sort of be looking at that. And so then advanced exit strategies are we need to learn and adapt this trading strategy. And I used a good YouTube that I found, probably worth following this guy. It's called Sports Trading Life on YouTube. That's where a lot of this has been taken from, but I am going to adapt it myself. This is where the starters for 10s come in, and I'm going to show you. They were pretty adamant that you get on, like, not even at half time, they're sort of in the second half, but I didn't really understand, like, when the second half kicks off, like, don't really understand, like, how long you wait, because I'll show you a few games in a minute where we had goals in about the 46th or 48th minute, and if I'd waited on them, I wouldn't have been able to get in on the trade. And there's a bit of background work you do before you get in on the trade, even before pre-game, and then you've got in-game and then post-game, and I'll show you all that now, because I'm going to go through each bit in detail, and I'll try and talk through some of the games. So this is the trial list from the weekend. So basically, these are the games down here. The ones in grey are the ones that I didn't get on because there was a goal in the first half. The ones in green are the ones I got on because they were still 0-0 in the first half. Now, so say I'll just take this top one, Fulham Blackburn. Fulham were clear favourites at 1.48, so you can see all the odds down here for the favourites. I did actually back this one. Trade on this one. I'll get used to that one day. I'm match betting, I'm always backing and laying, so I'm gonna call them bets. So we need to start calling them trades, even though it is more gambling than match betting. So these were 2.0 Stoke, and the rule is, I think some people use 2.2 and under. I was going to use 2 and under, so I did there, but I was a bit lucky on this one. In respect that the first goal went in the 86th minute to the underdog. Blackpool scored in the 86th minute, and I was willing to just let that ride, and I would have lost £2.96 here. You can see under the liability. I was using low stakes, which I'd recommend if you're doing a new strategy. So you can see I was just putting £2 trades on, and I was lucky enough to win them all, and I won them all at like more or less 100% minus the commission, so it was like 98% for each. So you put £2 stake on, but I only got 196 back on each because Betfair currently charged me 2% commission. So you can see along here my win ratio is 100% and return on investment is 98%. So you can see I'm actually £7.84 in profit, which is nice. So I only put £8 risk down, and so I'm more or less double the money I was putting in. So anyway, if we go back to this first one, so Fulham were odds on favour at 1.48, but they actually scored in the first half. In fact, I think they scored in the first goal went in the 25th minute. So by half time it was 2-0, and it was full time 2-0. So favourite won, yes, and that was a trading strategy 01, which is where I'm entering at half time and I'm not exiting at all. I'm not even exiting when there's a goal goes in. I'm just come and I'm just leaving it run to the final whistle, because I didn't want to sit and monitor all the games. Although really, to start with, you probably should be looking at the games, and there's some argument that you should be sort of watching the games live to see how it's going and whether their favourites playing well and stuff like that. But I want to try and get some strategies together where I don't have to spend a great deal of time. I know some people might say, well, that's going to be my biggest downfall, but so be it. I'm still going to try. I don't want to sort of sit all day every day doing this. I've got other things to do. Sometimes I will spend time doing it, especially when I want to try and tweak the strategy. I want to try and find a strategy that works well, efficient, that I don't have to spend too much time on. You can also see here the last 5. That's what I was talking about. The last 5 games for Fulham, whether there's been a goal. You can see like the lowest down here is 3, which is that one there, but they're all normally 4 or 5, because 0-0 is it's not a popular result, so that's another thing in our favour here. But if we do get a 0-0, obviously it's bad news. We haven't had a 0-0 yet. In fact, if you look down here at the full-time scores, these top games here are Saturdays, these bottom ones are Sundays, and then I missed Monday, and then these are lined up for tonight. But you can see down here we haven't had one draw yet, which is probably just luck more than anything. So obviously we need to keep trialing and working out like a strategy for when we do get 0-0 draws, why it happened, how it happened, and what we can do about it. And you can see I've only actually placed 4 bets, 3 on Saturday and only 1 on Sunday. Reason being is a lot of them are getting goals in the first half because you've got odds on favourites. Now obviously it's a lot lower risk when it goes 0-0. It does work out a lot lower risk, even though there's only half the game left. 0-0's half time, and like obviously the half glass full side of you say as well, oh God, it hasn't been goal in the first half, why would there be one in the second half? But all 4 I've put trades on in the first half where they ended 0-0 have all had a goal in the second half, albeit you can see here 3 of them ended just 1-0. So you could again say, well, that might just be luck. Leicester Leeds, their first goal, that goal went in 67 minutes. Like I've already mentioned, Stoke Blackpool scored after 86 minutes. And then St Etienne Metz, they scored after 52 minutes, so it was quite early. I mean, Chelsea went on to win that game 4-0 after scoring in the 48th minute. If they'd scored in the first half, obviously I wouldn't have got that bet on. So you can see out of all these games, there's how many in there? There's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games I'd prepped up, but only got 4 bets on. Now, if I'd actually put a bet on all these 14 games before the game, I would have won them all. So you could say, well, why didn't you? And it's a good question, really. If I'd put £2 on every game, I'd have won all 14, and I'd have been like about 28 quid profit instead of 7. But you just got to remember these, well, the supposedly higher risk putting those ones on, but I think I'm going to try it at some point, because I'd rather just get in before the game instead of wait until half time, because obviously wait until half time you've got to know when half time is on each of these games. Add 45 minutes onto these and remember to go in and lay the draw. And because all of them didn't finish as a draw, I would have won every single one, but obviously some will finish as a draw. I think if I laid them before the game started, there's then an argument for cashing out when the first goal goes in, especially if the first goal goes in the second half, because then there's a chance that the other team could come back into it and equalise. This Barcelona game here, I think Elche went 1-0 up, yeah. Half time was 1-0 Elche, so I didn't get on that one. But then Barcelona turns around 1-2-1. I'm not sure there when the last goal went in. I don't think it was that late, but once it got to ones each, there'd be a bit of risk going into that one. Again, this one, Man City, I think if I put the lay bet on the lay trade before the start of the game, I think Man City scored pretty early on, and then Man U equalised. If I would have probably, even though the game didn't finish in a draw, Again, the risk was there that Man U equalised, but I would have probably exited the strategy if I put them on before the game. I'm thinking about exiting as soon as the goal goes in. And one key thing about that is I'm going to then start looking for software that could maybe automate that, so I get in and out without even doing anything myself. I wouldn't even need to be sitting in front of the Betfair screen. So that's kind of things I'm looking at down here. So you can see all these games here, these ones for tonight. So basically I just go down all the, if I show you that, if I go into Betfair Exchange and I go down all the list of today's games and looking for anything where there's a clear favourite of odds of under 2, and then I list them here. And I also list the layer draw price, and I also then go into a site called Soccer Stats and find like how many of the last 5 games Liverpool have played. I'm actually contemplating not putting a trade in on these 2 games, even though the Liverpool and Bayern are so clear favourites. I might, because these fall foul of my initial rule, which is these are knockout tournaments now. It's a Champions League, and it was league based, but you need to be. I probably will take these out actually, even though I think they're good. Personally, in my head, I think they're good opportunities, but I might take them out because it's going against what I'm saying is don't bother with cup competitions. Even the league parts of the Champions League and stuff, you get to the latter stages where, like, if a team only needs a draw to get through, that's high risk, really high risk. I wouldn't even contemplate on those. So it might even be worth, well, it's certainly worth making sure of your research and that, and make sure you're happy with doing it. But I think I will take these out. I might come back. I might not put a trade on them, but I'll come back and see how they got on anyway. But anyway, if I show you Betfair, basically from the home screen here, you just click on football, and then you click on today, and that shows you today's games. So if you click on today, this lists them in order of games today. So you've got the Champions League, which are the top 2. So you can see there Liverpool are 1.64, which is less than 2, so I put that on the spreadsheet list. And the back odds for the draws 4.6, so I put that down. Bayern 1.21, 8.8, so put them down. That's really high price for the draw. So if you put £10 trade on that, your liability, well, if you put the £10 trade on before the game kicks off at 8.8, your liability is £88. So if it ends in a draw, you lose £88. And you've only put £10 in, and if it doesn't end the draw, you get your £10 back. That's if you let it ride till the end. But obviously, if as soon as Bayern score, which you would hope would be quite early on, otherwise you're going to be panicking. As soon as Bayern score, that 8.8 is going to get even higher, because the odds then are that Salzburg aren't going to get back in that game because the favourites have scored, the favourites are at home, blah blah blah. But with it obviously being a knockout competition, you know, that's a reason why you possibly shouldn't back on these. But I will be keeping them in to have a look at them, but I probably won't trade on these 2 tonight. I'll keep them in to see if there's any hiccups. Personally, for those 2 teams, I don't think there will be. Liverpool is obviously higher odds because they're playing Inter, but I mean Liverpool are at home, so that's why it's 1.64 and Bayern at 1.21. So then basically you go through all the rest of the games. You can see a Blackburn win there's 2.18, and Millwall win is 4.4, so we wouldn't touch that one. Similarly, Barnsley-Stoke, the odds aren't low enough. So again, you go down. So there you got Swansea-Fulham. You can see Fulham are 1.79, so that goes into the spreadsheet. No, yes, Bournemouth are 1.34. You just go down the list, and all I do is I didn't do Wigan obviously against Sutton United because that's a EFL trophy game, but I did do League 1 and League 2. There's nothing there in League 2, but League 1 you've got quite a few. You've got Plymouth at home to Wimbledon, Plymouth being the favourites. You've got Ipswich favourites against Lincoln. You've got MK Dons favourites against Cheltenham. You've got Sunderland favourites against Fleetwood, and all these are less than 2, so you get them on and they're all at home. This one is another one. You've got Portsmouth high favourites against Crewe. Crewe are bottom of the league, Portsmouth are away from home, so to me that makes it a bit less so. cruelly fighting for their lives to stay up. But that's the odds, so 1.73 fits the criteria. And also Bolton against Morgan, Bolton clear on favourite, so every single game there we've got an odds on favourite, less than 2. So I'm not going to do 2.0 in future because of that Stoke result at the weekend where Blackpool scored in the 86th minute and Stoke were 2.0 before the game started. So I'm just going to do anything less than 2. So that's my first little tweak, albeit it's not the biggest tweak in the world, but I am just going to stay at under 2. I'm not going, if anything's 2.0 in future, I say that's quite close there, but it's not close enough. It's going to have to be under 2. Even 2 is not good enough. So like I say, I list them all back in the spreadsheet, so they're all primed for tonight. With the odds might change slightly because I've done this earlier today. There's your draw odds. So if I go in pre-game, you can see that if I was to put a tenner on, that would cost me £66 if that one ended up in a draw. But again, if I put a tenner on and I'd done it pre-game, I'd be looking to exit as soon as Bournemouth scored, where the draw would be a lot higher than 6.6. It would actually go up. I probably will do a video. It's going to be a bit awkward though, because I'll probably have to run through. I'll probably have to. Sorry, that's the dog's barking. I've seen something out the window. Yeah, I'll probably change the strategy up depending on. I'll try and do a live one, but obviously you've got 45 minutes each game. Each half. It's going to be a long video if I do that, but I might do a live if there's enough people interested in having a watch of what I do, or you can even come back and you can watch a live game. That would probably not be a bad idea actually. You can, even if I record it and put it up on YouTube, you'll be able to watch it at a later date. So just finally then, just to find the last 5 here. The site I was using was called Soccer Stats, sorry. So it's soccerstats.com, and you basically click on today, and just like Betfair, list up all the games for today, and then you scroll down here and you see the games. So I'll not do the Champions League because I'm talking about not trading on those. I haven't fully decided. I'll take this one, Bournemouth Peterborough, because that was one on the list. So if you click on stats there, we're just looking to see the Bournemouth's last 5 games, which are down here. You can see the loss to Preston 2-1, the beat Stoke at home 2-1. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5 last games there's been a goal in every single game. Now this is something I probably will tweak. You look at, because at the minute you're just like filtering out any nil-nils. I don't know whether to look at. I was going to do where the actual favourite team scored a goal, so you can see they've only scored on 4 of the 5 occasions. They've scored on every single occasion in the last 5 games, so that's fine. But at the minute I'm just looking to see that there's no nil-nils. Yeah, so that goes down as 5 in the spreadsheet. So going back to the spreadsheet, we've got a 5 there, which you can see. And that's all I'm doing there. So you can see there 3, that may be a dodgy one. So if we look at that one, going back to Ipswich, or the favourites against Lincoln, I've only got a 3 in there, so they've obviously had 2 nil-nils. So long, if I go back and then go down to Ipswich League 1, so you can see Ipswich here, click on stats. You can see Ipswich, the 1-2-0 away to Fleetwood, they drew 1s each away to Morecambe, they drew 0s each at home to Cheltenham, they beat Burton 3-0, but then they'd had another 0s each there. So that one, ideally I shouldn't put it on, so I possibly won't, because it's only a 3. I probably won't trade on that one and just see how it goes. But you can see I have traded on some 4s up here. It's the first time I've had a 3, to be honest. I'm just not convinced with this column yet, because it's typically 4 or 5. There's not a lot of nil-nils with these teams, which is a good sign really. But there is with that one, so I'll probably not trade on that one and not trade on these cup games, but I will leave them in there and see how they get on. So what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to just do the same thing. as a probably final go at trading at half time. I'm going to trade at half time on these tonight, and then from tomorrow I'm going to try trading before the start of the game, because like I say, if I traded before the start of the game on all these 14 games, I would have won every single one, because none of them ended in a draw. But obviously there will be times when there is a draw, so that's where we need to tweak this strategy. But as you can see, it's going well so far. And we'll do these trades tonight from half time. Again, they have to be 0-0 at half time before we get on, or draw. I'll probably trade if it was 1s each or 2s each, because you'd expect then that's still the favourite to go on and win the game. But we'll see how we get on, and I'll come back in the next video. I'll show you around these ones. We'll get the games primed for tomorrow night, Wednesday night, and we might change the strategy a bit to the second one or the third one even. So where I enter pre-game, I just need to decide whether I'm going to have no exit strategy, or I'm going to exit as soon as the first goal goes in. The bottom one seems a lot less risk to me if we trade pre-game, because we've got a lot higher liability going on. That's the key aspect here. When we're trading at half time, you can see that the half time lay odds on the 4 that I traded, if I traded on this Leicester Leeds game at before the game, I would have to have a 4.3 liability, whereas I actually traded at half time that it was down to 2.7. So the £2 I only had a liability £3.40, which is the 2.7 times by £2, which is £5.40, minus the £2 stake, which is £3.40. That one's 322. This one was only 296 because the draw at half time was 2.48. That was by far the riskiest game I've actually done. You can see that the goal went in only after 86 minutes. I seriously thought that was going to end 0-0. Even at half time I was a bit dubious because of the lay was slow, but then again, you know, I was only risking £1, 296, so £1 more than the stake. And on this one, the half-time draw lay was 2.68 compared to, that was only 3.45 at the start of the game. So you can see how you can get in for a lower liability here than at the start of the game, because the liabilities against these odds here would have been a lot higher. And if you look at that like buying game tonight, the liability is 8.6, and the Bournemouth game's 6.6, because the home team are such a high favourite to win the game that the draw is ridiculously high to start with. But you know, when the home team does score the favourite, if it does go to plan and the home team favourite does score, then you're going to the odds are going to go high, and you can cash out and take a profit. So I just need to decide what I'm going to do on the exit strategy if I'm entering pre-game. But tonight, like I say, I'm going to enter at half time if the games are still a draw, and we'll see how we get on compared to this. I'm still waiting for the first loss, so I need to see how first loss will affect the profits as well. So obviously you can see I've only made 4 trades and doubled the money, but you can imagine instead of £2 stakes, if these had been £10 stakes, you know, it's all relative to the actual return on investment. Would, you know, I'd be still doubling whatever I'd put in. But I hope you like this video anyway. That's it summarized for now. And I will be, like I say, putting out further videos on how I get on with this strategy, and then moving on to other strategies and newer strategies, and refining existing ones. So if you're interested in any strategies, or if you've got any comments, stick them in the comments box. And if you want to see the next videos, then please subscribe to the channel, and you'll be notified when I release new videos. And if you got any information or ideas from this video, please do click the like button. It's much appreciated, because it makes the channel grow and more people get to see it. And if we get more followers, we can get more people on this journey and see if we can do some successful trading. Thank you very much. Bye.